term expiring in July of 2022. And the recommendation is for Kenneth Schuler. Motion by Supervisor Holzbach, second by Supervisor Kavanaugh to approve the appointment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Expo Ice Center Board to appoint 3 members to succeed Tanya Dvorak, Marilyn Lentz, and Dick Poland for a 3-year term expiring December 31st of 2022. And the recommendation is for Dick Poland, Tanya Dvorak, and Marilyn Lentz. So motion by Supervisor Gauger, second by Supervisor Banky to approve those appointments. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the appointments say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimously. Joint Dispatch Board to appoint 1 member to succeed Paul Granger for a 2-year term expiring of January of 2022. And the recommendation is for Paul Granger. So motion by Supervisor Hoffman, second by Supervisor Vogel to approve that appointment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimously. And last but not least, to the Manitowoc Calumet Library System Board of Trustees to appoint 3 members to succeed Ronnie Beckner, Cheryl, I think it's Kilstrup, I apologize if I'm getting your name wrong, and Chuck Krieger for a 3-year term expiring January of 2023. And the recommendations are for Cheryl Kilstrup, Chuck Krieger, and Sarah Gruhl. Motion by Supervisor Holzbach, seconded by Supervisor Hendrickson to approve those 3 appointments. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much on those appointments. We'll move into committee reports. And like I mentioned before, we're going to start with the Finance Committee. Supervisor Hanson is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Had an interesting meeting a week ago, plus a day. Sold a lot of property that we were fortunate to get back on the tax rolls and had a discussion. When we put property on out to bid, when somebody can buy it, we ask a certain amount of money to get back the expenses we have had taking care of that property and the taxes due and kind of things. But we have a mark that we look for to try to reach if we're going to let that property go. And Supervisor Bruner brought up the idea that should we reevaluate where that line is to accept an offer or not accept an offer. So we're going to take that and discuss that. But it was a good thing. From time to time, you need to relook at why you do things the way you do things, and we will reassess that policy for trying to get property, land, and buildings back on the tax rolls. We also discussed the resolution that will be coming before you in a little bit for the bonds. We have some good news on that. Supported the resolution you also see on there, giving our support for Ensight to try to move broadband to rural areas of the county that do not have it right now. As we were looking at that, we were asked to put money with that resolution. We decided against that. There are many places in Manitowoc County right now that do not have broadband. This area would have been about 59 homes, but we just didn't think at this time it was our purpose to put any money towards that. It's kind of a business decision. So we will support them trying to get the grant from the state of Wisconsin, but we did not include any tax dollars in that support. And then after that's done, Mr. Chairman, and we will try to answer questions you had on the email you got from the city of Two Rivers as to the agreement that was decided today. They did come to an agreement between the county and the city of Two Rivers to solve the issue with the Paragon property. But we can discuss that at that point. So right now, I will move to accept the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $9,785,000 general obligation promissory notes. I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, second by Supervisor Ballman. Discussion on the resolution.
To the resolution, Mr. Chair, the original resolution on your agenda for tonight was 10 million plus, but we got very good rates today, a 1.94 interest rate, which is going to go from, if you remember back, this was a process where we approved some bonds a while back, told you we were going to come back later on in the year and try to tie everything up and get a better rate. Well, that happened. So this will save us about $500,000. Or the old one would have saved us $500,000. Because of the good rates we got, we're going to save about $600,000. So that's another $100,000 that we'll save. Anytime you borrow money, you end up paying more. That's taking out a loan. But this is an excellent rate, and I'm very happy with that. So we look for your support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hanson. We do have Brad Vigat here from Baird and Todd Reckelberg, our county comptroller. Do you want to speak? Or Brad, you're certainly welcome to, I mean, I know Supervisor Hanson did a great job, but you're certainly welcome to speak as well. I mean, the interest rate was spectacular.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed.
It really was. And I would just reiterate that. I mean, the county is locking in debt for 10 years here. That's less than 2% of this cost. The bulk of this financing is actually refinancing debt to save money, reduce costs to the taxpayers. The annual savings is $80,000 per year for 10 years. There's a small component of this financing, $1,275,000, that's funding new capital. But overall, this is a very successful transaction.
Thank you, Brad. Anybody have questions for Brad while he's up here? All right, thank you very much. Back to the resolution. Any other discussion on the motion to approve the resolution? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of
Supervisor Ballman, I'm sorry. I was looking at, there we go. Resolution passes 25-0. Thank you all involved. Brad, you have a safe trip back. Hopefully take a snow with you if you don't mind. All right, continue on, Supervisor Hanson.
Second resolution is our support of Insight's broadband expansion grant application. The state, from time to time, will go out grants for these companies to try to expand broadband coverage into other parts of counties. They're applying. As I stated earlier, we didn't put any tax money with this, but we will support them as a county in their wish to provide broadband to the homes in that area. So I so move for the resolution.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, second by Supervisor Bruner. Discussion on the resolution. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution supporting Insight's broadband expansion grant application.
Resolution passed 24-1 with Supervisor Henriksen voting no. All right. Next up is the discussion on the in-rem proceedings of the Paragon property, as Supervisor Hanson had mentioned. I know this was discussed a little bit during finance as well. And as Supervisor Hanson mentioned, there is a tentative agreement with the city of Two Rivers and Manitowoc County, hopefully to be settled by this Thursday, correctly, Peter? Yes. So obviously, this is for discussion, but there's no need for the he said, she said portion of this, I guess, at this statement. I mean, don't be afraid to ask honest and good questions, but let's have some decorum as well. I'm not accusing anybody of obviously saying anything, but there's been an interesting discussion, and I guess I'm hoping that all of us can learn from it in the future, I guess, if this comes up again. I'll turn over to you, Supervisor Hanson, first. I know I got one on the speakers list, unless you want to add something right now, or are you good right now?
Well, I was going to turn it over to you because you're sitting next to Corp Counsel. The state of Wisconsin provides money to give out as loans to people that want to try to increase business, start a business. And this is one of the times when the money was given out by the loan committee, and it didn't work. The city of Two Rivers is also involved in that, and the county was involved in it, and it got a little messy as to how to who's going to own the building, who's going to pay the loan. So that discussion happened. There is an agreement that the county and the city of Two Rivers came to. The city of Two Rivers, it's an old factory, and we all know, we've seen old industrial property all over the Midwest, that if you don't get new people in it within a few years, you have holes in the middle of your city that nobody wants to develop or take care of. Kudos to the city of Two Rivers, because they've done a good job with the old Hamilton, ripping that down and taking care of that. And this is another situation where the city of Two Rivers would like to try to either get somebody in Paragon, in that old Paragon property, and keep it attractive for that type of development. So that agreement came to today. You all received the letter that came from the city manager of Two Rivers, the email that he sent, and it was an interesting process. I believe that they reached out because we didn't, as a county board, didn't have information about this, and we have representatives from the city of Two Rivers on this board, and you know, they were interested in what they thought was fair and what we thought was fair. So one of the sticking points was the repayment of that loan. And what happens is the money that gets repaid for that loan goes back to the state of Wisconsin. But now that the program is ending, the county may be able to receive some grant money, which is part of that loan money that is being paid back. It used to be that when money got paid back, we could then use that money paid back to try to start new businesses and give it to more people and to keep this going. And then there was a little administrative fee, which was kind of nice. But that money that is being paid in will then hopefully come back to us when this program is ended. And that will be money that can be used for different projects within Manitowoc County. So that's kind of, the sticking point was the repayment of that loan, but they come to an agreement, and hopefully at some point in the future, we will see some proceeds from that money that the city of Two Rivers is paying back. And at that time, hopefully we have some discussion on how we will use that money that we get in this grant to end the program. So if you have questions on that, or if there's anything that I misspoke or goofed up, I would appreciate the Corp Counsel or maybe Todd to straighten that out. But I think that's where the crux of the thing was. I don't know all the details. I got in this late, and I don't, you know, the only people that really know the details were the people negotiating that. But it seems like they solved some of that today, and hopefully we will get that money in the future from the state of Wisconsin and be fair with how we spend that around the county and make sure that it's used. You know, my hope would be some of it would go to Two Rivers to do some projects there. Questions?
I think you did a very good job explaining that, Supervisor Hanson. And I guess the sidebar portion of that, with the loan portion, as you know, we've gotten with our revolving loan fund for Manitowoc County, we had community block development grant funding. That's what done. And that program, as Supervisor Hanson had mentioned, has essentially ended. And that money has to be returned to the state of Wisconsin. But fortunately, I guess in a sense, we, as he mentioned as well, we will be eligible for potential grants to do projects across Manitowoc County. And especially, I know with the city of Manitowoc, which I'm more familiar with, we've actually started that program. We are actually somewhat approval for 2 street repairs in the city of Manitowoc, plus a lot of other ADA requirements, the things we're going to be doing with that money as well. I know Peter has definitely offered his help with this process. I've asked Supervisor Hanson to put it on the Finance Committee agenda for next month, because I think this is definitely the way to go. I know it's simple, easy just to return the money and just forget about it, but I think there's a lot of ample opportunity. I know there's going to be a lot of hard work involved in it as well, but to get money to come back, I know things have been mentioned, right, for ADA requirements in our county park system. I think that's a nice place to start. We County trunks might be a little bit more difficult, like in the city, because, you're going through different kinds of income levels and stuff. That's how one of the roads is based on, that we're doing in the city of Manitowoc, is based on moderate to medium, in a sense, middle class income range. So that discussion will be had in the future. So I will turn open the questions. Supervisor Henriksen, you were first.
Thank you. I've got several. Peter, when you set out to do this with the city of Two Rivers, how much notice do you usually give that you were going to go to foreclose on this?
In this particular case, we had given the city of Two Rivers notice that we were going to foreclose, November 25th, I believe, and I had some follow-up discussions with the city on that as well.
Okay. My understanding was that, according to Greg Buckley, it was only last week that they first learned of this.
Your understanding is what's being relayed to you by Greg Buckley. It's incorrect.
Okay. The other thing is, the county exec basically said that this was all for the county taxpayers. And that basically, I guess, the city of Two Rivers felt like they were under the gun to get this done. Is the city of Two Rivers not Manitowoc County taxpayers?
If that's a question, the answer is city of Two Rivers residents are county taxpayers. But they're not the only taxpayers in the county. There are a host, quite frankly. What is the population of Two Rivers? 15,000 roughly. Population of Manitowoc County is roughly 80,000. So what does that leave? 60,000, 65,000 other taxpayers or residents, I guess.
Okay,
Those
now you're saying,
taxpayers, I guess, is a difference.
you're saying with these grants possibly coming back, is there a possibility that some of these grants could be going back to the city of Two Rivers to help sell this property? Seeing how this property fell in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, that was a discussion that was initiated by Supervisor Hanson. I would defer to that. I don't think there's been any definitive decision as to where these funds will be allocated to.
You
I don't
also-
think that discussion has even begun. quite frankly.
Right, and I guess to piggyback on that, Supervisor Henriksen, and for everybody's information, first of all, the money's got to go back to the state of Wisconsin. Then we, in a sense, to get that money back in the form of grants to our county or city or whatever we want to call it at the time, we're going to have to submit projects. And I assume that the board will definitely be involved. And I'm sure the county executive and other department heads will have some suggestions, of course, but it will definitely the finance committee and ultimately the county board will be involved in those decisions. Then the state of Wisconsin will have to make that final approval. So obviously, I don't want to say jumping a gun, but of course, the city of Two Rivers would be eligible for within county things within the city of limits. Of course, would be very eligible. But obviously, you have to start here, and the approval would ultimately lie with the state of Wisconsin. But
Thank you very much.
thank you, Supervisor Henriksen. Supervisor Falkowski, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Essentially, the delinquent property taxes and even in the offer from Two Rivers, it will be covered in their offer, I assume. I mean, they agreed to it as far as their offer in the first place. Is that where that stands right now? And
That
only,
is correct. Payment of the delinquent property taxes is part of the agreement between the county and the city.
so the economic development loan is actually due to the state. I mean, they're the ones that issued the loan, correct?
The funds will be recovered. The county is actually the carrier of that loan. Eventually, those funds will be turned back to the state, and the county will be theoretically eligible to receive those on a per dollar basis as a grant as the revolving loan fund program closed out.
So the amount of that economic development loan is what's at issue is being negotiated right now. As who is,
To be clear, the negotiations have ceased. We have come to a resolution,
okay.
and the revolving loan fund loan is part of that negotiation, or was part of that negotiation.
What numbers are adjusted towards the city of Two Rivers versus the county?
This
That
far,
that 185,000.
the city of Two Rivers has agreed to assume our portion of that loan as well as then obtain our rights in obtaining deficiency judgment against the guarantor of the loan.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you Supervisor Falkowski. Supervisor Zimmer, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Buckley, the city manager of Two River, sent a letter that leaves me a little confused here. He says that the county's demanding $484,471.23, and he objects to that and says that the city of Two Rivers is offering $299,088.75. Later in his letter, he said, the city will be filing an objection in response to the county's motion set for hearing on December 17th. So we're just having a discussion here, right? Right now.
Right, first of all, the county board has no action to take on this.
Okay.
I know we want to be all powerful, but we don't have a say, I guess, in this in rem proceeding, correct?
As Mr. As the county attorney said, this will be up to the state to determine, correct?
No,
No.
no.
No, we have entered into a discussion over the loan. The loan went to foreclosure there's two things going on. There's property taxes, and then there is a revolving loan fund loan that was a default. The city initiated a action regarding the revolving loan fund loan that was in default. That's one issue. The other issue are the delinquent property taxes. We are parties to both of those. We are the plaintiff, so to speak, in the in rem action. That's the delinquent property taxes. We were actually a defendant in the foreclosure on the revolving loan fund. But those two actions are totally separate. They just happen to affect the same property. But the state does not get involved in that at all.
Okay, well, I'm still somewhat confused about this whole thing. I wonder, why are we having a discussion tonight? Could somebody explain that
I'll
to me?
explain why.
And I don't mean any disrespect, nor do I mean this.
Understandable. No,
Yeah.
just I guess to have the county board informed, essentially, to have the county board informed of what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, with due respect to the power of this authority or board, we didn't really have a say in what could happen. If let's say, I don't know, let's just say I decided tonight that I was going to put discussion and possible action on this, it would have been illegal because we don't have the right or ability to either approve or stop this sale or this agreement or any, I guess, action is one.
Okay.
I'm glad that there seems to be a tentative settled one worked out. And like I said, I wanted this discussion for informational purposes. And maybe in the future, and God forbid this things like this happens again, maybe we'll just be a little bit more forthcoming, I guess. I think both sides can learn a little bit on this thing. So that's what I guess I'm looking for out of this discussion here tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I don't want to be like one of those guys I saw last week on the committee just butting in, but one of the things, Supervisor Zimmer, is this is a public program that lent the money for this project.
Right.
And when the concerns came from the city of Two Rivers, and then you got the email that the city manager sent out, I guess as elected people that were going to start hearing about this, especially my colleagues that live in the city of Two Rivers that hear more, and their city council is doing this, the feeling was you need that information also, that even though we don't have power to do anything, this was a committee that I sat on because I was finance and that lent money with a couple professional people and bankers. That's a public committee, and it was a public meetings that people could come and sit in. So the idea is that this kind of information is important for us to know, and essentially when it takes two governments within Manitowoc County that are arguing between each other on how to solve this issue. Our hope is that we get that money from the state of Wisconsin. And again, that money used to, instead of giving it to us in a grant we could use on certain things, we used to get that money to give out new loans. but they're stopping the program. So now they have this money coming back. And so far, the state has said, we're thinking of giving grants to communities of how much money they had in that pot that came back to them. Now, they could change that, and they might do that, who knows, in Madison. But the idea is that money was repaid. It'll be money that went to Wisconsin. Hopefully we get that. And I guess we felt you guys should know. That's open government, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, one last
Yes,
thing.
please.
Is the city manager of Two Rivers under a misapprehension? Because he says, the city will be filing an objection in response to the county's motion set forth tonight. Is he under a misapprehension about what we're going to do?
No, he was correct as to what they were doing. They were filing an objection to our motion to finalize the foreclosure on the affected property. That's an absolutely correct statement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Zimmer. Supervisor Metzger, you were next.
We don't know if we're going to get this grant money or not. And Lakeshore Cap owns a church in Two Rivers and a school and all this stuff. It was all brought together to help the community. They do all kinds of action programs. And the school needs to be torn down. And Lakeshore Cap is mostly ran by grant money and fundraising. They do like 4 fundraisers a year, and it's like an entire weekend. They don't get paid for doing these fundraisers. And I just think it'd be a wonderful idea if you would keep Lakeshore Cap in mind when you make the decisions on where the grant money goes. Thank you.
Thank you. That, like I said, that discussion will be forthcoming in the next several months. Supervisor Williams, you are next.
Can we just back up a little bit and talk a little about it's not like this happened decades ago where the problem evolved. It's fairly recent, isn't it? Just the past few years? What was the vetting process that allowed this to take place, that all this money got tied up? What about the guys that were the ones that bought the place? I mean,
Well, I guess in one word, bankruptcy default, but I'll defer to Peter to give a better explanation.
Yeah, as far as, how the decision was made to forward the funds and in what amount, those are decisions that were made, several years ago. I forget exactly which year they were. The reality is Paragon, who is was the former property owner of this, defaulted on their loan, particularly to the city. And as a result, after multiple opportunities to cure the default, they failed to do so, and the city went ahead and felt that it was in their best interest to go ahead and foreclose on the loan. That's a decision that the city had to make on behalf of the city's taxpayers.
when we say Paragon, it wasn't the owners of Paragon, it was Paragon, whoever had bought them out.
Correct.
That was the owner of the property.
Where do they stand in all of this?
As far as the individual owners,
Responsibility, yeah.
yeah, I don't want to get too much into the nitty gritty of that, because it goes into some substance as far as the lawsuit itself, the foreclosure action. If we were ever going to have that discussion, I would recommend having that in closed session as part of strategy for litigation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Williams. Any other questions or discussion on this matter? Okay, I defer back to Supervisor Hanson then.
Thank you. And thanks for the discussion. If you have any other questions, let us know, or we'll try to get you an answer, but we appreciate that. And we have nothing else in finance, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for Supervisor Hanson? Thank you very much. Now we'll go back to the top of the agenda, Aging and Disability Resource Center Board. Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryant. We have in front of you the resolution amending the 2019 budget. It would be Resolution 54. The Greater Wisconsin Agency on Aging Resources Incorporated and the Department of Health Services have changed their formula to allocate Older American Act grant funds and state funds to the Aging and Disability Resource Center. The ADRC Board recommends that the Manitowoc County amend the 2019 budget to reflect the following changes in revenue and expenditures for the Title III programs, the Nutrition Services Incentive Program, the Alzheimer's Family Caregiver Support Program, and the ADRC programs to reflect the following changes. I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Wagner, second by Supervisor Swade to approve. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution amending 2019 budget, Aging and Disability Resource Center of the Lake Shore.
Resolution passes 25-0.
The next meeting of the ADRC will be in Manitowoc County on January 28th, 2020. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Board of Health, Supervisor Metzger is the chair.
We met November 14th. Annie Short was there and talked about the power in prevention. She outlined all the youth substance abuse prevention efforts that have been implemented over the last 10 years through the Drug Free Communities Grant. The efforts focused on 7 different strategies. 1, provide information. 2, build skills. 3, provide support. 4, reduce barriers. 5, change consequences. 6, physical design. And 7, modify policies. The grant funding is ending and that the Community Lead Coalition will continue using the same strategies and monitors outcomes. Mary, the health officer report, told us about the percentage of binge drinking in Manitowoc County is higher than the state and national rates. The estimated annual economic cost of binge drinking in the county is $62.2 million. The cost includes healthcare, criminal justice, lost work productivity, and other miscellaneous costs. For a communicable disease report, chlamydia, hepatitis, and gonorrhea, Lyme disease are the most commonly reported diseases. Mary also represented the additional fee schedule and explained one additional TB risk assessment fee. There was no environmental report. And the WIC report, the initial caseload for October was 966 participants with 566 families. The contracted caseload is 1,106. And we have 2 resolutions tonight. The first one is resolution approving the 2019 Health Department budget adjustment. What that is it's explained that the grant funding changes occurred after the budget was approved, and some of the actual grant money received is different from the amounts budgeted. And so resolution number 2, resolution approving the 2019 Health Department budget adjustment, and I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Metzger, second by Supervisor Holschbach. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution approving 2019 Health Department budget adjustment.
I don't think so.
Supervisor Nichols, could you try again, please? Thank you. The resolution passes 25-0.
Thank you. The second resolution is adopting the Health Department fee schedule 2020 and 2021. Mary recommended to keep the same fees as we currently charge licensed establishment. That is basically what the state recommends us charge that we have to pay back. So resolution number 3, resolution adopting Health Department fee schedule, and I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Metzger, second by Supervisor Vogel. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution adopting Health Department fee schedule effective 7/1/2020.
Resolution passes 25-0.
Our next meeting is January 9th at 5 p.m. at the Health Department, and that is the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you very much. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Supervisor Falkowski is our representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report for this month. January 8th is going to be our next meeting. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Falkowski? Thank you very much. Executive Committee, as you know, we met 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks? Last week. Wow, time flies. Last weekend, we discussed the resolution that I am bringing tonight to authorize an advisory referendum question on the creation of a nonpartisan procedure for preparation of legislative and congressional redistricting plans here in the state of Wisconsin. Just a little background before I accept the motion. Supervisor Hanson had emailed me that one of his constituents had brought this up to him, and well, as I've mentioned many times before, there's no discussion that isn't worthwhile to the county board, so I'll gladly discuss that, and I placed it on the executive committee agenda. There's a little background, so with that, I'll accept the motion, I guess. Motion by Supervisor Ballman, seconded by Supervisor Bruner to approve. Is that your motion? To approve the resolution? Okay, I just want to make sure, because maybe it would be to deny it. So, all right. So we have a motion and a second. I will open it up for discussion. I'll start with Supervisor Banky.
Chair, we met, as you said, the other night to talk about this particular item. I'm probably not going to support it at this level. I supported it through committee to bring it to you because I think it's important for everybody to have that discussion at this level. All county board members to have their say in this matter. I don't think it would have came out of committee, but I supported it through committee to bring it here so everybody gets a chance to speak to it. I appreciate Supervisor Hanson's passion and his frustration. As of late, you've kind of felt his tone through a lot of his conversation, whether it be the budget or whether it be this item, and his frustration about the fact that the condition of Manitowoc County and I spent the last 2.5 years facilitating a behavioral-based safety program at Kohler, and I think it takes a long time to change, and I think the things that maybe frustrate Supervisor Hanson